This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hello, everyone. I am Paolo Sironi, your host of The Banker's Bookshelf. The Banker's Bookshelf is a podcast that is inspired by the authors and the researchers of the most interesting books and papers, which are finding a prominent space in the libraries of curious bankers and fintech entrepreneurs. Today, I have renowned fintech expert and business advisor Efi Pylarinou presenting her new multi-author book, The Fast Future Blur. Efi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Paolo. It's an honor to be on the show, and especially since our book is freshly minted, if you like, not on the blockchain. It's a physical book. I was extremely excited to get my hands on it, and I must say, being in Europe, I had to wait longer than my authors that are in the US who got it much earlier than I did.
So, Efi, I like printed books because they give us that friction that slows down our thinking process so that we learn more, because we are in a world that is very fast and becomes very complex and more complex. And I think that this book addresses some of these topics. First of all, you have an amazing professional experience. I want to say 3 words that I believe highlight your professional life. Tell me if they correspond, and maybe there's one missing. Mathematics, Wall Street, fintech. Am I right?
I would say, yes, you're right. Mathematics was my passion in my early years. I was completely enamored, whatever word is right, by the world of mathematics, which I believe is really the only language that is internally consistent. We have developed it to help us understand the world. And what it has done is, I believe, it has helped us in our analytical thinking, in what is called logic, whereas our natural language doesn't lend itself to logic. And that's wonderful too. We need all that. And then over to Wall Street, where I was baptized into my professional life. It was a very particular period, the early 90s at Salomon Brothers in the World Trade Center.
That's baptized with fire.
Exactly. And the same trading desk as the traders of long-term capital, the infamous hedge fund, with the desk that the Liar's Poker, the author of the Liar's Poker, has got an inspiration, and so on. So, I come from that world. It has marked me, and fintech is my last 10 years, I would say, into innovation and into the direction of where financial services and the world is going. How the economy is going to be powered is by fintech. It will be shaped by fintech, whether it's executed by startups or incumbents, it doesn't matter. But that's the fuel for the economy as we know it today and as it will be shaped going forward.
So, Efi, a disclaimer. These 3 words I told you were not generated by ChatGPT. I figured them out myself. That means a fourth is missing for sure. Which is the fourth?
Which is the fourth? You're asking for my professional life,
If
right?
you like, well, we're also humans in professional life, so another word that defines you.
So, I think what is defining me right now, and it matters because obviously what defines me right now is an evolution from the past, is the fact that business is personal. And therefore, my personal development, your personal development is absolutely reflected in how we do business, where we decide to put our energy and how we do things, because that's where I think the difference for us humans is. It's not what task exactly we're doing, but how we are doing it. We
Yeah.
might go on speaking, writing, creating, building, teaching. We're all teaching through our actions, through our words, through our energy. So that is what I think is the other part that is defining me in this later stage of my life.
Good. So let's discover some of the energy you put into this book. The Fast Future Blur is a new book just published by Wiley that contains a collective insights from the faculty of the Fast Future Executive. Now, it's an executive program, I understand, that addresses interconnected topics impacting most industries, markets, businesses, products, and jobs. Powered by the faculty of the Fast Future Executive, the Fast Future Blur book provides a set of strategic frameworks, and that's important. We have to discuss some of these in the conversation today and how they intersect the decision-making for business models. So it provides a set of strategic frameworks that help us to navigate the interconnected complexity of our current period of rapid transformation, which I understand, Efi, you call the fast future phase. Now, there are 12 key areas that are addressed in the book, areas of change. They are platform businesses, regenerative innovation, artificial intelligence, healthcare, the future of work, new mobility, blockchain, metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, leadership, agility, fintech, and of course, the impact of interconnections. Now, we can find the timely insights from top leaders of the Fast Future Executive Faculty, which is a global consortium of experts and industry leaders. And most of them, that's important and interesting, are associated with the World Economic Forum, top business and technology schools, and are top executives with leading global companies. So there's a lot of experience brought into this book with real examples. It's always worth learning from examples. So let me mention the co-authors before we get into our conversation, Efi. They are Sanjit Polchodari, who's actually been our guest for the opening episode of The Banker's Bookshelf, Ravin Jesuthasan, Vince Kauraitis, Jessica Groupman, Rajan Kalia, Martha Bockenfeld, Alun Evans, Courtney Harding, Hari Aburi, Christine Slalina, and Ramanathan Srikumar. Now, if preparing for the complexities of the future requires learning from multidisciplinary perspectives, and I guess that this is what is inside the Fast Future Blur. But let me first understand, what does Fast Future Blur mean, and how did you choose this title?
Yes, the meaning is really to remind us that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And this is really about the convergence. I mean, we talk about that very often, about the convergence of the technologies and why we are at this inflection point. We all agree on that, where things are going to change. And when I say things, we're talking about the way we live, the way we earn our livelihood, the way we communicate, the way we cooperate. Everything will change. And it is a blur. It is not clear. Some of these changes may be closer than others. And therefore, they might seem not so futuristic, and others are more futuristic. We don't know the timing. But what's important is that they're all interconnected. The changes are not independent. Think of, let's say, the future of work. How is that interconnected with the future of health, the future of mobility? How is it interconnected with AI, with blockchain, with augmented reality? We all have a sense that it is. So, what we are talking about here, and we strongly believe, is that these fast future blurs have opportunities, they hide opportunities. And the leaders that want to shape our future need to understand these opportunities and tap into them. So, this is the premise. These blurs are in the future, they're interconnections between advanced technologies, socioeconomic trends, like the ones, work, mobility, leadership, and so on, and environmental trends. So this is the facet of um, transformation. We're talking about a wide breadth. We're talking about a web. We're talking about complexity here that we've never had before. And that hides a lot of opportunity, but requires what I like to say or tag as nonlinear thinking.
Okay, so let me say, Efi, in a recent survey made by the IBM Institute for Business Value, we asked the 3,000 executives about the most important skills for the workforce going forward. And typically, STEM used to be at the top, then somewhere down creativity. But in the last one, 2023, we saw something extremely interesting. STEM lost importance because at the top, we found things like time management, teamwork ability. So the importance of resolving complexity to allow STEM and new technology effectively to add value, because what we are sensing and hearing from a lot of executives is that the businesses, the industries are too complex and they have to do too much at the same time. And somehow they don't know how to make decisions. So is this something that the fast future blower is trying to address?
100%. It is actually when we talk about, when we looked in our chapter of thinking like an AI native business, what digitally native businesses have accomplished. You see that obviously not only they are customer focused and customer driven, but they're also data driven. They have been data driven. We have to acknowledge that digitally native businesses, that model has increased the feedback loops between the customers or within the value chain. But despite the increase in data insights, the complexity has risen so much that it has actually made it very difficult to make strategic decisions within the enterprise or within the ecosystem. And that is where we suggest that the next phase of deploying AI and the new capabilities, and there's more to come, we understand that, will help. I like to say, Paolo, that we have the potential to hack complexity with these capabilities, if not the current ones, the ones that are imminent in the pipeline.
Okay, let's start learning how to hack complexities as an AI native. Your chapter's title is Thinking Like an AI Native. And you open this piece identifying 4 business archetypes. This book is about how business models needs to be conceived to basically thrive in a complex environment. And I understand you're thinking in terms of traditional business models, which are very linear, digital native business models, blockchain native business models, and AI native business models. How do they differ?
Yeah, I mean, traditional business models are basically most businesses that were born earlier than 10 years ago, and it's easier to understand them because they're either using what I call grandpa tools and have a grandpa mindset, right? And or they might be on a journey towards becoming digitally native, successfully or unsuccessfully, much advanced or not. It's easier to understand how they differ with digitally native businesses, which are really customer centric and data driven. And in my mind, they have given rise to the experience economy. The experience economy didn't exist as a concept before and for traditional businesses. Traditional businesses were more about transactions, executing, and that type of mindset. Digitally native businesses really created the experience economy. And this has been discussed by many authors and by many researchers and analysts in the market. Now, in the last, I would say, 15 years, we have companies that are blockchain native. And I'm not referring to companies that are in the crypto business, like a crypto exchange, because a crypto exchange effectively is just an exchange, right? It's a traditional business. Maybe it's a digitally native business, but it is still a crypto exchange. A blockchain native business has a different focus. It has different potentially governance towards being a DAO or a decentralized organization. And it also has a different type of processes to exchange value, to execute transactions, smart contracts, and so on. So yes, they are maybe a breed of digitally native businesses, but not in the sense of the experience economy. They are more focused on different ways of governing and different ways of manufacturing, if you want, services and value exchange. And we do have some digitally native businesses trying to become blockchain native. And then I like to think of AI native businesses that are not yet born. And these businesses are not just digital businesses using AI tools. For example, OpenAI is not an AI native business. It is offering services that are AI tools, but it's a business that is run completely, I would say, traditionally. I don't even know if it qualifies as a digitally native business in the sense of the customer centricity and the data-driven feedback loops to improve the model, to generate more services and so on. So an AI native business would be one that is born maybe in 5, 10, 15 years and is completely, has baked in AI at all levels of the customer level, of the enterprise level, and the ecosystem level. Today, we don't have such companies, but I'm pretty sure they will be born. And these will be companies that handle complexity in a completely different way than it is handled today.
Okay, so you said that there are traditional business models and companies that use grandpa tools and they attempt to freshen up with new technology, but they're not making it right because in reality, they need to understand what it means to become digital native, blockchain native, and AI native. Now, using grandpa tools is very important to me, I have to tell you, because I am the happy step grandfather of a 1.5 years old Marvel. Okay, so there's still value in being a grandpa, but I know that like anyone make mistakes. So one of the typical mistakes of grandpa companies is that they define and map value of digital to 3 dimensions, which are customer, operations, and ecosystems. But I'm learning, reading this chapter, that there could be drawbacks with this approach. It's fairly limiting. So why thinking customer operations and ecosystem is not enough?
Because again, you are thinking in a very linear, compartmentalized way of these levels, if you want, or areas, better said. Uh, you are thinking of the area of the customer independent of the enterprise, for example. Imagine if you are, I think we can understand the issue if we look at the marketplace, right? If you're a digitally native company running a marketplace, you will be uh, deploying all sorts of digital analytics and feedback loops and data driven insights at the customer level in different dimensions. Some of them we mention in the book, but then you have those completely separate from the enterprise. So let's take an example. The strategic decisions of an enterprise are taken based on certain data insights, whereas the discovery or the innovation at the customer level um, are taken by a completely separate, unrelated, independent, that we would say in the statistical world, a data set. And AI, the advancements of AI are giving us an opportunity to actually explore the interconnections and the insights that we can gain from those two areas, the customer and the enterprise, and again, at different dimensions.
Very interesting, Efi. I've been traveling the world meeting thousands of fintech entrepreneurs and bankers. And I used to tell the fintech entrepreneurs that they cannot break banks because banks are already broken. And the Bank's Bookshelf is hosted by Breaking Banks Euro podcast. What does it mean that banks are already broken? It means that the lines dividing business units, entrepreneurs, managers, and customers are blurred. So now we need to understand how to redesign the connectivity among all of these elements in different ways to leverage the value of data, to leverage the value of artificial intelligence, and maybe to reconstruct the infrastructure, thinking in terms of decentralization and blockchain. But now you say that there are 5 key dimensions that allows to overcome the limitations of this linear thinking around customers, operations, and ecosystems, and they define the fast future blur of AI businesses. There are 5 Ds: discovery, design, decision, dexterity, and deduction. So just help me and our audience understand what do these 5 mean?
Yeah. First of all, any framework is just a framework. Let's be clear about that. It is a guide to help us think, to move our thinking from our, if you want, one-dimensional or two-dimensional maximum current linear thinking to this, to how to start dealing with this complexity. So that's the reason that we have looked at these 5 dimensions that you mentioned, because it helps us understand the complexity even in one vertical. If we take the customer vertical, right? We can use digital tools and AI to help customers at the discovery level, or the discovery dimension. An example of that is really simple. I like to think of what Morningstar has done with Mo, which is, I guess, a chatbot, or you want to call it a digital assistant, which is trained on the knowledge library of Morningstar, right? And so all the customers of Morningstar, before, they had a certain way to discover insights from the Morningstar library. Now, the discovery is very different, right? That's an AI, applying AI at that level. But what if you have it at the level of designing experiences, which is completely different? And a great example of using AI at that level is what IKEA has done with its agents. They have retrained them to become AI designer assistants. And they've launched a new business that is designing business in combination with augmented reality. Now, you not only can go shopping at IKEA, but you can hire them or tap into their service, which is about designing. So this is a different level of in the customer dimension, if you want.
So discovery and design. Then we get to decision.
Yeah, decision. How do you help customers make decision? And I love this for financial services. You know why? Because we've always been talking how financial services have been pushing products, right? But they're not helping customers make the decision to invest. What they care about is, okay, I want to sell you this investment product or that investment product, or we have any investment product you want. So, how do you use AI to help the customer make the decision, make up their mind? I think this is extremely important. You want to call it education, you want to call it advice, whatever it is, right? It's obvious what it is to help the client for the good or the service to make up their to decide.
I used to say a few times, inspired by the early days experiences of Jeff Bezos, that he basically told himself on in some interviews years ago that data-driven banking needs to be preceded by data-enabling clients. First of all, help your client make conscious decisions so that they have a better, if you like, engagement and experience on your platform, so they can make the discoveries they need. In essence, we're connecting these three, and then we get into dexterity.
With dexterity, that is very also interesting because at the customer level, again, we are talking because we can't talk on all levels. It's all about what happens with the physical and the digital, because in the world of digitally native companies, it's as if everybody's pushing away from the physical, right? And what we need is to have that dexterity. So there's an intelligence that understands exactly where the physical and the digital is needed, or what, if you want, what's the potion, what's the right magic mix, right? And that might require personalization, but it's really about using AI to have that dexterity for the customer.
If I can give you an example, my example, I
Yes.
think that WeChat is way more interesting than Facebook because Facebook is strongly virtual. And then, of course, you can buy real goods.
Yeah.
WeChat is ingrained in the physical world. So you move from physical to digital continuously. And therefore, is a much more powerful experience and engagement model to reorganize entire society and economic systems. And the last one is deduction. So we said discovery, design, decision, dexterity, and the fifth, deduction.
Deduction. And the deduction, the best example I can give you is this. There's an interactivity there. And a great example is what Duolingo is doing with AI, where Duolingo is known, to learn languages, right? And you can, for years now, you could talk to the software and practice sentences, paragraphs, stories, and so on. But you would never get any feedback as to why you made the mistake that you made. And now you can get that. Duolingo has that. So it is helping you understand why you made the mistake and improve. So there's a deduction built in there that is extremely valuable and was not possible before.
I remember my German teacher when I was learning German. She used to say, Herr Sironi, Katastrophe, Katastrophe. So maybe you needed a better feedback to move forward. In fact, I don't learn that much.
And maybe there's hope for me to learn German too. This way.
We are in the same boat, different accents. So it's always inspiring talking to you. There is one concept that I loved listening to your launch presentation of the book in Los Angeles a few days ago. And let me quote it and ask you to explain about it. You said that transformation is not linear and sometimes is a roller coaster.
And you really loved that, right?
Yes.
It hit a nail. I mean, the message there is, just as you thought as an organization, let's say that you've arrived and now you're a digitally native. Here comes. It's not AI, in my opinion. Here comes this wave of complexity, which includes the advancements in AI, includes changes in the future of work, includes changes in leadership, includes changes in regenerative innovation versus just the net zero and SDGs and so on. It's extremely complex, and therefore it's just continuous, the change. And at this point in our era, if you want, we all understand that what we know is completely going to change, whether it's on the business model level, whether it's the work environment, the leadership style. Agility was supposed to be the name of the game, not enough anymore. So there's completely, what we know doesn't hold anymore. And that's my feeling, that this is a wonderful roller coaster.
So Efi, the future is bright, but it's definitely foggy. In order to move forward, we need to decode complexity. To decode complexity, we need to learn and learn more. On my side, people ask me often why I also work on theoretical concepts. And I say that the change that industries, in particular financial services, have to make is like going from producing electricity with a carbon plant to producing electricity with a nuclear plant. Wouldn't you use a different theory? So you need to learn something else, right? So it's important to learn. And these days we have to relearn. So I do believe that this book, The Future Blur, provides interesting frameworks that enables us to relearn a bit out of the traditional concepts we have in defining business life with technology, looking at the problem in different ways so that it will be easier for business people and technology leaders to find the right solutions to go through those roller coaster and get to the end unscattered and most likely entertained also by that journey. So Efi, thank you very much for the opportunity you gave us to share content with the audience of the Banker's Bookshelf. Where can the audience find The Future Blur and your work?
Well, I mean, LinkedIn is my big platform. You can check our work at thefastfutureexecutive.com and see both our work because we're teaching live these concepts, the future in these areas, and of course, the book.
So thank you. all stay tuned for more. More episodes are coming and more research discussions. By now, it's clear that the Banker's Bookshelf is an incredible opportunity to strengthen altogether our critical thinking. We get inspired by authors and researchers like Efi Pylarinou of the most interesting books, papers, and publications which are finding their prominent space in the libraries of curious bankers and fintech entrepreneurs. With that, we can make better informed business decisions.
And Paolo, first of all, thank you very much for having me, and let's all enjoy the roller coaster that is ahead.
Let's do it together. Arrivederci and enjoy the jingle.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with Fintech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.